Hey guys, welcome to my first ever video game review for Resident Evil 9. I wanted to explain my rating scale here. So -1 is basically going to be a codeDumpsterFire. It's not even a game. 0 is barely a game, 1 is something like Snake. And then here at the top, you're going to have 10, which is just absolute perfection. There's not going to be a better game in this genre. This is like basically peak. You can think of a peak game going on right here. So I guess the question is then, what is Resident Evil 9? What would I give it on a scale of -1 to 10? I think it's about a 7. Now that may came as a surprise to some of you from hearing all the really good things about it, but I'm a longtime Resident Evil fan, and I honestly had to give my absolute real opinion as a game in the series. I think it's about a 7 out of 10. My favorite Resident Evil being probably 1 or 4. As a standalone game, maybe bump it up to about an 8 out of 10.
Alright. We'll be playing Resident Evil Requiem. It's been out for a day. We'll see how much I actually know about Resident Evil. Long-term fans of the series, that's me. I like the music so far, very cool.
From here on out, there will be spoilers, so just be warned about that. I wanted to start with the good things before explaining why I gave it a couple of points off, about 3 points off of being a perfect 10 out of 10. So honestly, the game starts off really cool, great music, great atmosphere, kind of reminds me of like early 9 Inch Nails and, you know, that kind of like edgy techno aesthetic. The beginning of the game is decent enough, very beautiful, interesting little investigation you do, kind of leading into this bathroom area where I started to get Resident Evil 7 vibes, which isn't necessarily bad, but I was kind of hoping they went in a different direction. So basically when you go in here and open this toilet, it just totally reminds me of Resident Evil 7 type of shock horror. I did play Resident Evil 7 and 8 to completion, so I feel like I kind of, you know, have a good footing as to what 9 should be like. I did like the direction the games went since the OGs, and I also played the majority of the OGs. Soon after this, we get our first scare. No, but really, the beginning of the game is actually terrifying. This is the first monster that you run into, and honestly, I think she's probably the scariest of the whole entire game. Like, come on, just look at this atmosphere. Another thing that the game did really well that I appreciated was in the darker, slower moments where you play the main character, Grace, they kind of indicate where to go with like cool lighting tricks and unique puzzles that I honestly don't think I've seen done as well in any other Resident Evil as this game. So basically the first half of the game you play as the character Grace, which is a more slow, classic horror survival experience similar to Resident Evil 1, which was really cool to see. There's a lot of different unique enemy types and mini-bosses throughout the first couple of areas, and some of them were genuinely really hard and really, really terrifying. For instance, in this section, when I got past the chef, I was just running around, not really knowing where to go. In each room I went into, there was some different kind of chaotic zombie that I ran into. Even when I got trapped in this stall here, it did feel claustrophobic, but I was able to get out, you know, if I played it right. And that's just something they did really well with the spaces that they had and the enemy types that they had for this game. Playing as Grace in the first couple of areas is actually genuinely pretty hard, especially in classic mode. I died quite a lot. Another really interesting thing, as you can see here, is the zombies will have different kinds of interactions and puzzles themselves. So basically this zombie hates lights being on, So you can use light switches to lure him into other rooms. And you can also shine your flashlight on him and he'll actually react to it. So I thought that was really interesting. And you can see when I'm going in this room, there's lots of chaotic stuff going on. There's a zombie you can hear singing. So they really tried to switch it up with different kinds of zombies that, you know, didn't just look different or have a different attack. They actually had some depth and character to them, which I found really refreshing for the series. I feel like 7 had tried to do this a little bit, and 8 not so much, but also kind of closer to attempting something like this. But I've never really seen it this in depth. And part of that has to do with the game's story, which I won't be talking about too much in this review. I'm more so just comparing this Resident Evil to all the Resident Evils that came before it. So as you can see, playing as Leon makes for some really cool clips. Basically, when you're not Grace in the survival horror sections, you're Leon, which is the more action-packed, zombie-killing machine parts. And let me just say, he is really cool in this game, I'm not going to lie. Actually, all of the characters do feel really grounded and really well done and really cool. That is one thing that they kept really consistent throughout the game. Which, you know, bravo. You know, from the mocap to the voice acting, the dialogue, it got rid of a lot of that cheesy Resident Evil feel. Every once in a while, they'll have Leon say some cringe stuff, but I mean, that's just a staple of the series, right? But when you are playing as Grace, moments like this get really intense. It's also super gory. And all of the zombies have great effects for when they're being shot and blood splattering and gruesome, like, beat 'em up ragdoll physics. It's so satisfying. And finally, the biggest question of them all, is the game scary? Yeah, it's scary. I saw things coming and I still got jump scared so many times.
Oh god, why do I feel like this is a trap?
The great thing is they still captured that classic feel of Resident Evil. There's still cases where you can unlock items with coins. You can defeat the enemies in multiple ways, like with this injector tool. Enemies will come back from the dead if you leave them there. And kind of like in the first game where you have to burn them with matches. You can collect keys and like secret little puzzles and things like that. So it keeps a lot of the really good survival horror intact, even from like almost 30 years ago. And the game was hard and easy at the same time, even on classic mode. So the only reason it was pretty easy for me was I've been playing the games for a long time, obviously. I know what to expect from a Resident Evil game. And even when they did switch it up on me, I kind of knew how to react. But I will say, I died a lot. Some of these zombies, you could put a full clip into them and they'll still be standing.
This is my first playthrough. Thank you for asking. I'm a long-time Resident Evil fan, so I'm kind of speeding through it when I am playing it. But I'm playing on the hard mode, casual or whatever, so I'm not going to lie, I've been dying a lot.
I don't know if anybody's played the games called the Evil Within 1, Evil Within 2, but I feel like they were highly inspired on this game from that series. There's a lot of interesting crafting and like weapon, a lot of the classic old style Resident Evil puzzles, I would say, show up here as well. Like photos and locked boxes with, you know, a certain pattern to put in and objects you have to examine. I saw a couple people get tripped up by this, but they were typically, you know, newer to the series. Later in the game, there's more like environmental puzzles and puzzles that you wouldn't really expect from Resident Evil. So it was nice to see that, and it was kind of fresh to the series. And they didn't really guide you how to do it either. They would use subtle tricks like lighting, or give you like maybe a few clues or hints here and there. But you really had to kind of try to piece it together yourself. Like, for instance, this piece of paper. I found it after, and I didn't even know it existed. So that was pretty cool to see. And you can see here, this is where you actually find that item that you use the instructions for. And there's a really cool scene right after this that, you know, kind of scared me pretty good. It was one of my more favorite memorable moments from the early playthrough with Grace. I saw it coming from a million miles away, but it still got me.
What the fuck?
So one of the reasons I gave the game -1 point was for killing the vibe. For a few puzzles now, you spent this time building up to what happens when you put the organs in the zombie. Something super interesting is going to happen, right?
It gets up.
Of course. Did he poop his pants? Oh no. Me too, bud. Me too. Actually, can I steal your foot? Can I steal your fit, buddy? He did poop his pants.
Like, are you serious? The big reveal for that puzzle was a zombie that pooped its pants? Are you serious? Like, there was a couple of moments in the game where they just completely ruined all the build-up intention with, like, a joke or, like, just something stupid. And I just don't understand. Not to mention the fact that Grace is supposed to be like this FBI analyst, and the whole entire time
Puzzling this so
she just acts like she's dumb. Like she's never seen a zombie movie, or she doesn't know what's going on in the world of Resident Evil. Like it just doesn't make any sense. So soon after that, you have a pretty epic battle, I'm not going to lie, with one of these big Chungus guys as Leon. And there's some really interesting aspects to this, without spoiling too much. Basically, the parts where you're Leon interweave with Grace, and it has things like persistent memory, so like if you leave a bullet here, it remembers you have a bullet here. If you use this many grenades as Leon, next time you play as Leon, it will remember that you had that same amount of grenades. I think it even could remember, like, if you had your flashlight on or not, like some really specific stuff like that. That was pretty cool to see. Now, I can't remember exactly, but I think this was in previous Resident Evils as well, so it was nice to see it kind of translate over. And I will say this was one of the better boss battles with Leon. There's quite a few like of these mini boss battles, but this one felt really good. There was a lot of like action and tight gameplay. And usually I typically honestly don't really like playing the Leon parts, the parts that feel more like Resident Evil 5 and 6, because those are my least favorite Resident Evils. So anytime it starts leaning into that, I kind of, disassociate and just wait for the parts with Grace again.
Okay, hit me.
Sherry.
You're killing me.
I found some information about our illness. Our symptoms confirm a T-virus infection.
Oh, fuck.
So this is where you start to get some really cool puzzles. There's, without spoiling too much, a section of the care facility that you're at where you have to start playing with lights again. You basically get these cores, and you can put them into different gates to open different pathways. And I think you can almost do it in any order. I just happened to kind of come across the correct order, like almost the first time.
So where do we want to go?
And you have to do things in a specific way in certain orders.
Where's that area?
You have the option to take out some enemies early if you want. And you can also take out the lights to, protect yourself from certain zombies. So this was one of my more favorite puzzles of the whole game, I would say, so far. So this is probably a good time to bring up the reason you're down here is because of this character named Emily, which honestly I probably should have brought up earlier in the review, but I'll be honest, I didn't really like the plot line and the Emily character. She's like supposed to be this blind little girl you're supposed to feel bad for her. Grace feels bad for her, and she's locked in a cage at the start, and like there's something going on, like she's being experimented on or something. That's, you kind of have to figure it out as the game progresses. But all the parts with Emily are honestly just kind of boring and like roadblockers. Like I feel like they could have done a lot more interesting things like that. It's kind of like in Resident Evil 4, where the president's daughter is with you and she's just kind of annoying and in the way and doesn't change the game too much. That's kind of how I felt here as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I definitely love other characters being in the game with you to switch things up. Like in Resident Evil 5, I thought Shiva, I forgot how to say her name right, but I felt like she was pretty cool, and even if you were playing co-op with a friend, it didn't feel like your friend was getting in the way the whole time. You kind of worked on things together. But here, you're pretty much dragging her around. You have to put her in specific spots when you want to, engage in combat or certain puzzles. It's not losing a point for it, but it's just a minor gripe that I did have for the game. Now, this was one of the coolest puzzles. So I thought you couldn't go over here. I was like, oh, am I supposed to follow the bodies? Like, I was confused at first, right? But it is a puzzle that you kind of have to work towards. So you are supposed to put yourself in between these dead bodies to get to the next room as part of the conveyor belt. Like, look at this.
There we go.
And then dialogue starts. I couldn't believe it. I was like, that is so cool. That is one of my more favorite Resident Evil puzzles, where it wasn't like, oh, a task. You had to do something. You had to go to this place, open this thing, put this puzzle piece here. It was just, you had to figure it out and just wonder if you could actually do it or not. That was so cool. I don't remember a ton of other puzzles being like that in any game ever, actually. So yeah, I just thought this section was really cool. Not to mention right after this, there's this epic like conveyor belt fight. So basically, you have to fight a bunch of zombies in here while conveyor belt's going. So like, I don't know, this whole section just really impressed me. It was super cool. Not to mention this really cool push mechanic where you push them into the grinder. I thought this was so cool, man. I can't get enough of it. Oh, bro.
Oh, there we go. That's what they picked to do. Get out of here.
So unfortunately, after you figure out the last puzzle in this area, I think this is where the game went downhill for me. And honestly, I considered giving the game maybe more of a 6 out of 10. This is where you're going to lose a lot of the classic horror fans as soon as you leave this door, because the game just starts kind of turning into an action movie.
We made it. We did it.
And that's where it loses its next point. Horrible boss battles. This was a major gripe I had about both Resident Evil 7 and 8. Like, look at this. I didn't even shoot her. I didn't do anything. She just died. I mean, yeah, she's in the sun, but like, it's so unsatisfying. The same thing happened at the end of 7 and 8. Not to spoil it for you, but essentially you don't get to actually fight the bosses or the final battles. They're just kind of like on rails, almost quick time events. Like, I could not believe how 7 ended after the notorious ending of 5 and 6. Like, you'd spend all this time building up these monsters and these zombies, and it's just, they're not scary, dude. Like, she just died from the sun. I didn't even do anything. So this one is double jeopardy for me. It's a bad quote-unquote boss battle, and it's also just, killing the vibe. Like, the first 2 points that I said, it just loses it for me. Like it's just, I get it's supposed to further the, Grace feeling bad and whatever, but like, it was just, I don't know. I just didn't like the reveal. I just thought it was boring. But again, the acting was great. The characters look great here. She is pretty believable as like this kind of wussy. And that is something that they got right here that I can appreciate, Not everything has to be some epic boss battle, I guess. But yeah, that's one of my major gripes is just I hate how unsatisfying a lot of the bosses are in Resident Evil games. Like in Silent Hill, I feel like they do a little bit better of a job. I don't know. Maybe it's just like the fact that I'm such a horror fan and I've seen a lot of horror and played a lot of horror games, and to me, you really have to raise the bar, whereas to the average person, maybe they find this really scary or too hard, and like maybe that's why a lot of the bosses are pretty easy. Another thing that's so disappointing is look at this map. Doesn't it look cool? Doesn't it look like it's almost an open world game? Well, I heard rumors that it was supposed to be an open world game before they scrapped it and went to like the classic Resident Evil type of experience. But look how cool that would have been, like to backtrack to all those places you were. I don't know. If you find spiders scary, I guess this was cool. Just not doing it for me. But what was pretty cool was the crafting system. This is kind of replacing, the shop guy, I guess, where you can upgrade your weapons and buy things, buy armor, stuff like that. I thought this was pretty good. Again, like with the rest of the game, there's, pretty good crafting system, and everything feels tight and pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of like the Call of Duty customizable section for your guns or whatever. So I've been kind of alluding to the reason it lost the last point the whole time, but I really, really, really did not like Resident Evil 5 and 6. And the second half of this game just screams Resident Evil 5 and a little bit of 6. Like, it just feels like all the horror's gone here. You're like in slow sniping sections, fighting like military stuff, using military equipment. And don't get me wrong, there's some cool parts. Like this part I thought was really cool. Basically, there's like this glass you can break and the zombies will fall through it and die. And like there was a lot of zombies here. Like this was cool. This was almost like a horde of zombies, which would be something really interesting to see in a Resident Evil game. It's just more zombies, right? Like Left 4 Dead or something like that.
Oh, there we go.
But yeah, it was cool. So overall, that's just the reason it lost a couple of points for me here, especially being a longtime Resident Evil fan. Again, great game. I would still go out and get it and just play it at least once or twice yourself and just have fun with it, you know? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you liked this video at all. Share it with your friends. Unfortunately, I did not beat Angry Joe to his review. He literally just put out a review for this game like an hour before I did, so that sucks. But until then, see you guys next time.